Hello and welcome to Onioncreature Update. I'm Owen Carlson, and today we bring you news of Pokémon. The Pokémon Direct for 2019 just aired on the 27th of February 2019, and in this Direct they showed off the new Pokémon generation, which would be Generation 8, and the Pokémon games which will be released later this year, and that is Pokémon Sword and Pokémon Shield. Hooray. I was a little worried because I remember when they revealed Sun and Moon, they actually didn't really show any gameplay, they just showed like some concept art. So I'm glad for this Pokémon Direct they actually bothered to show us some gameplay. I appreciated that. That was an improvement. And we actually got a little bit of a feel for what the game is going to be like, which is basically HD Sun and Moon by the looks of it, which, you know, I'm okay with. I can live with that. Obviously, something more ambitious would have been nice if they'd done something a little more unique now that they're on a home console, but this is, in all honesty, what I expected in terms of the visuals and what the gameplay looks to be like. So I can appreciate it. I mean, it's certainly still exciting, but it's not like brand new. It's not like we've never seen a Pokemon game like this before. It's just that now it looks better than it has previously, which, you know, that's cool. First, we'll touch on those starters. Those little guys. They're real cute. These are real cute little starter guys. I like them a lot. This is a really strong collection of starters. My least favorite would probably be the Fire Bunny, but I don't tend to gravitate toward fire types, so that's okay. I like the Grass Monkey. He looks pretty cute. And we got the Water Tadpole, which I really like. I really like that Tadpole guy. He's real nice. But yeah, they're all good. I'm on the side where I wait to see the final evolutions till I pick one, because I got burned before, because when Sun and Moon were coming out, I saw Litten, and I'm like, oh man, look at that cute little fire cat, it looks so adorable. And then it evolved into Incineroar, and I was like, oh no, I don't want that. Get that away from me, that's disgusting. And I went with Rowlet instead, and that worked out. But not gonna pick just yet, because this Water Salamander, his final evolution might be really ugly. Hope the final evolutions keep the trend of being overall appealing. Also interesting to note that these were the only new Pokemon that we got shown. Every other Pokemon in the trailer was a previously existing Pokemon, which is a little unfortunate. I didn't really expect to see any other random Pokemon, and I'm sure we'll see those later in the year. We'll next talk about the region itself, which is the Galar region, and it's pretty obviously based on the UK, the United Kingdom. Got a Big Ben thing, got a London city. The region itself is in the general shape. It's pretty evident. There was also some rumors about it being in UK, so I don't know how those got out. I don't even know where those originated from, but good on you guys for getting that info early. I think UK is actually a pretty good choice. It has a lot of unique landmarks and geography that'll really work out, I think, for the Pokemon game. And I'm really looking forward to see what Pokemon ideas they come up with for in the UK. I think that was a pretty decent choice for a Pokemon region, and I think it'll definitely work out. As I've said previously, the visuals themselves do just kind of look like an HD Sun and Moon. Like, there's a lot more detail, and the lighting looks a lot better. The lighting looks a lot better than Let's Go, Pikachu, and Eevee. Yeah, it just seems to be a lot more detail in the environment and attention to detail. Still looks like it has a fixed camera. The gameplay sections, in terms of how they look pretty similar to Sun and Moon and Let's Go, just with better lighting, basically. It looks like a pretty proper home console game compared to other Nintendo games that have been released. Yeah, I think it's definitely a serviceable look. It doesn't wow me, but I wasn't really expecting it to. So I do appreciate that they've gone back to the more humanoid character designs of Sun and Moon, because I think those look better than the chibi things we had in Let's Go. I think the more humanoid people look a little more appealing in my view. And speaking of, I do really like the look of the player trainers in this game. I think they look pretty awesome. Like, the guy has that weird like beanie hat. Girl has another hat. Got some weirdo hats. That's a tradition that we gotta upkeep. One major gameplay detail that we did see was that it looks as though you find wild Pokemon in the grass yet again, as opposed to Let's Go, where you found them just walking around in the environment. So it's going back to the more traditional method of catching Pokemon, where you just battle them and then catch them. And I'm okay with this. I think that's fine. I think personally, if I had to choose, I think maybe adapting the Let's Go style into a more traditional style, where I do really like being able to see Pokemon in the overworld. And it made going through caves and stuff a lot less of a chore than in traditional Pokemon games. But I am okay with them returning to the more traditional style of finding wild Pokemon in grass. I think that works out, and, you know, it's fine. If there was one thing they could have carried over from Let's Go, it would have been being able to see Pokemon in the overworld, and maybe they could have kept the battling mechanics with wild Pokemon. But I did really like being able to choose which Pokemon I fought, rather than just being bombarded by randoms when I walked through grass or in a cave. We had no real indication of any story details, but that's kind of expected. We don't really tend to get that in new generation reveals. Well, I'm sure we'll get the enemy team later on and some of the gym leaders and a bit more plot details, but as of right now, we don't really know anything other than the region and the starters and the player characters. Other than that, it's kind of all up in the air. I also want to touch on the music, because we heard actually a decent chunk of music in this trailer. We heard the main theme and then some of the town themes, and it sounded fine, certainly. It didn't sound bad. The problem I had with it is that it's not live recorded. Pretty clearly not orchestral or live recorded, and they were definitely going for a more rock style for the main theme, something sort of like that. I just kind of wish Game Freak would go that extra step with their music and have it recorded live, like orchestrally, or something like a big band like they've done with Super Mario 3D World, or Splatoon has had bands record. Pokemon is on a home console for the first time, and we still have music which sounds, by and large, pretty much exactly the same in terms of fidelity that we had on the 3DS. I just kind of wish they'd taken that extra step to make the music sound extra sweet, extra nice. Obviously could afford it. Like, this is Pokemon. This is one of the hugest properties around, so I think it's unfortunate that they, for some reason, chose not to do that. I don't know why. Of course, there is still hope for the main game. This is obviously just a trailer. We've seen stuff like Super Mario Odyssey. Originally, the music they played was MIDI, was artificially created, and then the final version was orchestral. But I'm not holding my breath. I mean, if we get better sounding music, more high fidelity sound music, live recorded stuff, I'll be pleased. But I'm not actually expecting that. I don't know. I just kind of wish they'd go that extra step. It just makes it feel a little more budget than it should, I think, being, just such a massive title. That, like, this game is going to sell so much, they're going to make so much money on this, so I just don't really see any reason why they wouldn't. Yeah, kind of would have been nice to see that, but I'm not too disappointed. Like, it's kind of what I expected, but yeah, it would have been nice if they put a little more effort into that, into making that sound nice by having it recorded live or something like that. On to our next subject, we didn't see the legendaries at all. We saw the logos for Sword and Shield, but we did not see the legendaries at all. So I don't know what those look like. Sword and Shield have like a little wolf on them. They both have like a wolf emblem. I don't know what that means. Possibly some relation to a wolf or something. I don't know. Yeah, didn't get a look at those guys either. There was also a scene in the trailer which was kind of interesting. That they showed the player character going to some sort of sporting event. Possibly like soccer, or how they call it, across the pond football. So maybe they're doing something with that. Maybe that'll be some sort of new like contest mechanic thing. That could be kind of neat. I don't know. That was sort of interesting. One of the more mysterious aspects of the trailer, certainly. One thing they didn't really mention was whether there will be any major differences between the two versions, Sword and Shield. Sun and Moon, the most recent new generation, had pretty major differences between Sun and Moon, in that in Moon, the time of day was switched 12 hours, so if you're playing during the day, it would be at night in the game, and obviously if you're just playing Sun, it would just be the normal time. So no real indication if there will be any sort of minor changes like that between the versions. If I had to guess, we'll probably just get pretty standard differences in that Sword will have certain Pokemon that Shield doesn't have, and Shield will have a certain Pokemon that Sword doesn't have, and then obviously they'll have two different legendaries, presumably. In terms of when we'll see the game next, I personally would put a wager that we'll see it. We probably won't see much of the game, if at all, until E3. So at E3, we'll probably get a pretty massive trailer with some new Pokemon. They'll probably play it on the show floor like they've done in previous years with Sun and Moon, and we'll probably see the legendaries then, and maybe a little more of the plot details, and then some of the new Pokemon we're going to see in the region. And then after E3, we'll probably get what we've seen before with previous new generations, where they just release trailers every once in a while that reveal new Pokemon and new game mechanics and details like that. Those will just release throughout the year until the game releases. One interesting thing about the Direct itself is that Ishihara at the end said that there will be exciting new things for the Pokemon brand. That was interesting because at the time I was like, oh, are they gonna show another, like, a new spin-off game or something? They didn't, though. They just ended it directly after that. He was probably referring to stuff like the Detective Pikachu movie and stuff in Pokemon Go. By the way, though, I gotta mention, Detective Pikachu, that new trailer was looking pretty spicy. I'm saying I'm pretty cautiously optimistic about that one. I think we might have a good thing on our hands, a good product, a good film, perhaps. So certainly looking forward to that. But I am hoping that when he says more with the Pokemon brand, perhaps we see a new spin-off title or two, because it's been a while since we got a proper spin-off Pokemon title. The last one was really Pokémon Deluxe for the Switch. And by spin-off, I'm referring to spin-offs which are on like a Nintendo system, and the last of which was really Pokémon Deluxe, which was quite a while ago. So I'd really love to see a new spin-off announced. Obviously, if it was me choosing, I'd opt for a new Mystery Dungeon game. Who knows how likely that is. But seeing a new Pokemon spin-off would be pretty swell. You know what, I was talking about how there hasn't really been any Pokemon spin-offs, but I guess I forgot about Pokemon Quest, which was a bit ago. I guess that was technically a new spin-off. I prefer something a little more budget, a little more high budget than that, perhaps something not quite as free-to-play, freemium model. Wasn't a huge fan of Pokemon Quest, in all honesty. I thought it was not super interesting, so hopefully we get something a little more ambitious than that. You know, him saying that there's more in store for the Pokemon brand doesn't necessarily mean a spin-off, but it might. You never know. Cross our fingers for new Mystery Dungeon or something like that. That would be really sick. Now, just my closing thoughts on this Pokemon Direct. It was about what I would have expected, but it was still really nice to see, and visually the game does look really nice. I'm glad we're getting a more traditional game, and I hope they mess with the difficulty a little bit, because Let's Go was kind of way too easy. So maybe we could get a little bit better of a difficulty balance in this game. There's not a whole lot to say past what I've already said, because you know, it's a new generation of Pokemon. Obviously there's a lot of possibilities, but if you were to look at Sun and Moon and then say, okay, what's the next generation of Pokemon? What's the next new Pokemon game gonna look like? It would probably be something very similar to this. Like, this is kind of the expected look for a new Pokemon game. I think it looks pretty dandy, pretty fine and dandy. I'm assuming that it's getting a worldwide release simultaneously, because they've done that previously. That's become a new trend. I'd guess November, because that's pretty much when the new Pokemon games have been coming out in general. So probably somewhere around then. But yeah, it is exciting. Not blown away by it, but yeah, certainly a good showing, and should be a fun time. Should be a nice, pleasant experience, and has a little bit more going on, it looks like, than Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, which I thought were a little bit simplistic for a home console game. So hopefully we get something a bit more in line with Sun and Moon in terms of its depth. Very pleased we got two pretty major Nintendo Directs in 1 month. How sick is that? A lot of fun, awesome stuff happening with Pokemon lately, wouldn't you say? And with that, I shall conclude this edition of the Onioncreature update. That is all the news for today. Thank you, and have a nice day.